The first tariff, a story of power and trade. Let's explore how they were introduced and how they affect us today. A long time ago, there was a great city called Uruk. The city was rich and powerful because it sat at the crossroads of many trade routes. Caravans from distant lands traveled for weeks across hot deserts, carrying spices, silk, wool, and silver to sell in Uruk's busy markets. The merchants made huge profits selling their goods in Uruk, using the city's roads, ports, and security. But the king of Uruk, a wise and clever ruler, saw a problem. His own people. Local farmers, weavers, and metalworkers were struggling because the foreign traders brought in cheaper goods. The local economy was weakening while outsiders were getting rich. One day the king gathered his advisors and said, "Why should foreign traders make money in our land without giving anything back? If they want to use our markets, they should pay a small fee." And just like that, the world's first tariff was born. A small tax was placed on every product that entered the city. The money collected was then used to build stronger walls, repair roads, and expand Uruk's army to keep the city safe. At first, merchants were angry. They threatened to take their goods elsewhere, but then they realized something. Uruk was too important. It had rich customers, strong trade connections, and valuable resources. If they wanted to do business, they had to accept the tariff. And so, the idea of tariffs was created, a powerful tool that countries would use for thousands of years. Now let's understand how tariffs spread across the world. As time passed, other civilizations copied Uruk's idea. They realized that tariffs could do two things. First, make money for the government and, second, protect local businesses from foreign competition. Here's how different ancient empires, like Egypt, China, Greece, and Roman Empire, used tariffs. It started with ancient Egypt. They put tariffs on gold and spices. Egyptians were famous for their gold, perfumes, and papyrus. But they also imported rare goods like spices, gems, from Africa and India. To protect Egyptian businesses, rulers placed a tax on these imported goods, making them more expensive so that people would prefer locally made products. Then afterwards, ancient China came and put the Silk Road tax. China controlled one of the most famous trade routes in history, the Silk Road. Merchants carried silk and tea to faraway lands like Rome and Persia. The Chinese government saw the value of these goods and charged foreign traders a fee to sell them. This helped China keep its wealth inside the country. After Chinese, ancient Greece came with the 2% port tax. Greek cities, especially Athens, had massive ports where ships from all over the Mediterranean arrived. To control trade and earn money, the Greek government placed a 2% tax on every product that entered their ports. This money was used to build temples, pay soldiers, and fund the famous Olympic Games. And at last, the Roman Empire imposed the 5% import tax. The Romans took tariffs to the next level. By 200 BC, Rome controlled vast territories across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. To fund their armies, roads, and government, they placed a 5% tax on all imported goods. This money helped Rome build the greatest empire in history. Tariffs were no longer just about money. They were about power and control. The Middle Ages, the first big tariff system. By the 12th century, tariffs became more organized and strategic. In England, King John placed a high tax on wool exports. Since England was the biggest producer of wool in Europe, this made the government very rich. Other European kingdoms saw this and copied the idea, using tariffs to control trade and build stronger nations. By the 1700s and 1800s, tariffs were no longer just small fees, they were used as economic weapons. Countries used them to compete with each other, blocking rivals from gaining power. The modern tariff wars. Fast forward to the 1900s and 2000s, and tariffs were still being used, but now they could change entire economies. The Chicken Wars of the 1960s. After World War II, American farmers started selling cheap chicken to Europe. European farmers got angry because they couldn't compete. So they placed high tariffs on American chicken to protect their businesses. The U.S. government responded with a 25% tariff on European trucks, a tax that still exists today, 60 years later. The U.S.-China trade war of 2010. In the 2010, the U.S. government placed high tariffs on Chinese steel and electronics to protect American companies. China responded with its own tariffs on American goods like soybeans and cars. This created an economic battle where both countries tried to hurt each other's economies through tariffs. The big question: are tariffs good or bad? Today, world leaders are still debating tariffs. Some believe they are necessary, while others warn they can cause more harm than good. Well, so it has both the good side and the bad side. Good side is, they protect local industries from foreign competition. They help governments make money to build infrastructure and fund services. They can create jobs by encouraging local businesses to grow. And, on the other side, they increase prices for everyday goods, making things more expensive for consumers. They can lead to trade wars where countries fight back with more tariffs. If used too much, they can hurt global trade and slow down economic growth. The future of tariffs. Are tariffs the key to making a country stronger, or do they create more problems than they solve? History shows that tariffs are powerful tools, but like any tool, they must be used wisely. If they are too high, they can harm businesses and raise prices. But if used correctly, they can protect industries and grow economies. Just like in the past, the world is still playing the game of trade, and only time will tell who wins and who pays the price. What do you think? Are tariffs good or bad for the economy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.